A month and a half has passed, and this time, quite a lot of things happened within Ero, especially that grid reveal for Season 9, and the signups, recruitment, all of this. And now, we are racing it again, not in a regular season just yet, but we will be racing pretty shortly, or we've actually started. We are here in Portimao to race for the first time in ER Season 9 as a round 0 pre-season, just a race to get going and get a grip before the regular season starts. My name is Wojciech Śmigowski, I am the ERO owner and PC F1 commentator. The season, the regular one, starts next week on Friday 6 PM UK with the PSF5 race, and you are all welcomed to join and sign up to True Home of League Racing. Okay, from all of this formal stuff, that's it. Cameron Doubts has already disqualified himself and will start last into the race. I don't know what happened there, but it says wrong way for some reason. However, let's go to racing, to the proper action, as we're about to begin our qualifying. Somehow our heads-up display does not work, so that's one of the issues that we need to face. But you're still welcome to the race. Marvin Moore is one of the first ones to go out of the garage. We'll see it on the map, who is already about to start lap, and that is one of the aforementioned. That is Drake Dempsey, the one to begin his lap, to begin today's qualifying session. I don't know what happened with Cameron. Maybe we'll know about it pretty shortly, but that was definitely very interesting to see him disqualified within seconds. The grid isn't full today, as likes of Tom Richer, for example, are not able to race today, or Diogo Moraes, but 14 drivers still joined here and will race Ero Season 9's pre-season. Starting off with grid, the names on the grid, not only we have people who know, who are, for example, Drake or Ferry or Ryan Gropp racing in McLaren. Well, there was a couple of transfers. I think Ferry Wagoner going to Alfa Romeo, and Ryan Gropp with Tim Bayer, the debut driver in the McLarens. Luke Mills has been promoted from AlphaTauri to the Red Bull, and there is also his teammate Hugo Nilsson. Ferraris have stayed with Arjen Bilbas and Jonathan Voss. The Haas have a completely new lineup of Cameron Doubts and Marvin Moore. Williams stayed with Pavlakovic, but this is where Diogo Moraes has moved in. Also, very nice extension, Drake. Now your lap is invalidated. Anyway, speaking of which, in Mercedes we've also got a reserve racing today. His name is Miltos Karafolis. And Mercedes, also a debut driver to Ero, racing for the first time in the league. As there is some troubles for Drake, but we can see already Ryan Gropp and Tim Bayer completing their laps. The second driver in Mercedes is Jack Hennington, who is a full-time driver for this season. And who else we've got? We also got Kacper Niemczyk coming back after the break of Season 8. Luke Mills starts the season with a lap faster than Ryan Gropp's ones, by 64 milliseconds. However, Jonathan Voss in these first minutes of the qualifying is fastest on the track with 17.1, but I believe 16s will be set pretty soon. One of the drivers completing the lap on 1:16 might be Hugo Nilsson, but he does not. He fails to do so. He's last out of people who have already done a lap, as he is placed on the 6th place. Ferry Wagoner starts lap looking for drivers who are about to finish it. For example, Quil Pavlakovic, who was in the course to get a couple of wins last season, at least podiums, and he was 1/10 away from a victory in Australia. But unfortunately, it did not happen for him. We'll see the last season standings for reference. But Quil Pavlakovic at the moment 18.6, Harrington 18.1. There was basically one massive bid over the chat, like betting who's having a bigger so-called skill issue on this track. But I think all of the drivers are pretty talented around here. Well, at the moment, only Marvin Moore has like very, very slow lap time of 1:37. I've seen Niemczyk at the moment 17.7, placing himself on the 5th place after 9 DNFs in 9 race starts of ERO Season 7. He definitely looks for better results, and this has to be a proof that he's doing pretty well in this season. Coming back to Quill, just fact-checked it. There was also a podium in Belgium, 3rd place. Quill is probably going to join the pits now, or will start another hot lap on the same soft tires. I don't know why he's using no ERS at all. Might just be doing some laps to get going, to get a grip on this track. Marvin Moore crosses the line, gets 3rd place, 17.3. Adrian Bulbas starts his lap in a Ferrari, where he stays for another season after getting 3rd place in the championship. The objective is one for the Italian team. It's basically winning the both drivers and constructors championship. That could have been possible in Season 9 if there was less unlucky moments for Arjan last season and Jonathan Voss wouldn't be out for 6 races consecutively. But Jonathan was still ninth at the end of it, and Ferrari got 2nd place. Well, Red Bull was very dominant, especially with Tony Ricci, and this is actually why they got the championship of constructors and drivers both. Arjan Bulbas probably on the way to complete a lap. I can see a Williams about to finish it. That's cool, Pavlakovic, but he's doing race pace probably on these soft tires, even though it should be medium hard strategy for most of the tracks, if not all. Arjan Bulbas about to cross the line. He's using all of his ERS power, turned on the ERS, and he puts in the 16.8. That is the fastest of all at the moment. It's a Ferrari 1-2 on the front row of the grid. But you have to consider that Drake Dempsey hasn't set a lap yet. Cameron Dowds is disqualified as well. Jack Harrington probably will do way better than that. Same applies for Miltos, who's, I believe, going for another run. I'm wondering if this is the same set of softs, and that should be new softs. So Miltos is going for a 2nd run of today. Currently safe 3rd place for the Greek driver, who's just joined us recently during the mid-season sign-ups. He's already invited at his lap, so that is not what he wanted, I believe. He will have to go with another one. There's 10 minutes to go in this qualifying session, as Jake Dempsey is another one to start a lap, this time without invalidation, and he goes purple in Sector 1, 21.9. So that is very, very quick one from Drake. 5th gear for this uphill corner, turn 8, which has got plenty of drivers multiple times in F1 2021. This time without invalidation. He also goes purple yet again on Sector 2, so I believe he might be going for a provisional pole position at the moment, as there's a Mercedes crossing the line. That is Karafolidis, who's going to the pits. How about Drake, though? He's setting 2 purple sectors, so I believe he might be going for pole position here in Portimao. It only depends if he finishes the lap. He is going to finish the lap, and it's 16.7 at 10th ahead of Arjan Bulbas, placing him on pole position, at least at the moment. He might be going for yet another run afterwards. There's one of the McLarens crossing the line. That is Tibaya, placing himself on the 5th. There's also a Red Bull of Hugo Nilsson, but he's currently in Sector 2, so I believe that might have been Luke Mills starting a lap. Alfa Romeo of Wagoner placing himself on the 9th. The gaps are a bit bigger than I expected, to be honest, at the moment, but we know there is still at least a chance for one more run in this qualifying session. Wagoner is now starting yet another run, as we'll be switching to one of the Red Bulls. That will be Hugo Nilsson, but I believe he's starting a lap. No, he's going to the pits for the new set of softs. So we'll have to wait at least a couple more minutes before starting another run. As Jack Harrington, he's got 5th place at the moment, so that leaves us with Alfa Romeo on the pole position. Then we've got 2 Ferraris and 2 Mercedes drivers on at the front of the grid. Ryan Gropp goes for another outlap. Ferry Wagner places himself in 5th, 20 milliseconds ahead of Jack Harrington, so that's a very tight qualifying session for the Alfa Romeo driver. Milto's probably about to start lap as well, looking at Kul Pavlakovic, who has no ERS apparently, and finally goes to the pits. He's got himself some sort of benchmark of 18.6, but I don't think this shows his full potential. Same applies for the times of Niemczech and Nilsson. Well, the top 10 is within 0.6 of a second. Actually, 0.7 of a second, around something like this. Yup, 0.7. I still believe Niemczech, Nilsson and Pavlakovic, all these 3 drivers, can make it to this gap of 0.6 of a second and get definitely way better lap times, as Kul Pavlakovic is now in the garage. You can see the pit crew putting on the tires. As Marvin Moore goes 3rd. That is a very decent lap time of 17.0, but there are still only 2 drivers with a 16 at the front, as one of the McLarens, that is Gropp, will start a lap. Looking at Jonathan Voss, he's going slow, so I don't think he's going for a lap just yet. But Ryan Gropp is, so we'll take an eye on him. We'll keep an eye, we'll watch what can the Swiss driver do. The man who was 2nd at Ero Season 6 in PC F1. There's a chance for a championship this season, definitely. With plenty of competitive drivers on the grid, you cannot cross out anyone from it. Ryan finished 6th last season, mainly due to a great run at the beginning with 4 podiums. 2nd place in Miami and Austria, 3rd place Bahrain and Monza. If he keeps this performance through for the entire season, he might be actually for the championship title, but now he doesn't start the season the best way because he spins. Comes back on track safely. Ahead behind Jack Harrington's Mercedes, but that wasn't the greatest performance of Ryan. Probably he'll go to the pits and pick one more set of softs before the time is up in the qualifying, as Miltos Karafoldis over a second behind. No chance to improve because it's invalidated. Yes, he's now going to the pits. Miltos looking at Team Bayer, 0.4 of a second of improvement, so we might be watching himself going for pole position. This is a big chance for him to get good first impression in ERO Season 9. And this orange and black McLaren car. Team Bayer crosses the line now to put himself on a 2nd place, 16.8. That is less than a 10th behind Drake Dempsey. That is very, very close to Alfa Romeo's lap time. The top 3 is within a 10th, so that makes this race potentially very, very interesting. As Jack Harrington goes to the pit lane, he will have a chance to improve his lap time if he hurries up with the tire choices. Thankfully he has the garage early on, so He will lose less time on going out of the pit lane, but he will have to hurry up anyways. Cool Pawlakowicz is on the outlap. How about Hugo Nilsson, who's not using any ERS? He's just starting to use the ERS, so I believe he might be going for a run just now, not setting any time at this point, especially considering it's 4 minutes 30 seconds. His teammate Luke Mills starting as well, so they probably had installation lap. How about Kul Pawlakowicz though? He will be starting as well. As Ryan Gropp lets Kul Pawlakowicz, sorry, not Quill, but Hugo Nilsson past. Warming up his tires, hoping for a better run this time, considering his spin in the beginning of Sector 3 on the last qualifying run. He lets Kacper Niemczyk past as well. And there is another Red Bull of Luke Mills this time. Yeah, I think Ryan Gropp can go for pole position. He's proved that in Australia when he was racing the Mercedes, that he is capable of doing the fastest lap times in qualifying. Warming up his tires still. Waiting for the banging of the lap. Sliding around quite a fair amount of times. Hugo Nilsson sets a lap of 17.6. How about Luke Mills? We'll see about that. He's crossing the line now and places himself on the 5th. He was actually not having a chance to stand on the podium once last season, but his regular point scoring finishes placed him on 7th place ahead of Drake Dempsey. And we have to consider Drake did like half the races. Luke Mills though has scored points in every single race but one, which was Austrian Grand Prix. Apart from that, every single time points being scored. This led him to get 7th place in the championship with 103 points. So this is where regular point scoring brings you. Drake Dempsey about to cross the line. No, that's very Wagoner, apparently, starting a lap. Drake Dempsey is currently in Sector 1, or actually Sector 2, as he's got purple sector, a 10th ahead of his personal best, which is also the which is also the fast lap of the entire qualifying. Through 6th gear into turns 7 and 8. Again, short shifting quite a lot. And on the exit of turn 8, very quick left-hander. The time is up in the qualifying. Team Bayer and Kacper Niemczyk will not improve their laps. Drake Dempsey going very, very quickly through all these sectors. He's 2 tenths up on his lap time, so that might be 16.5. If he does not mess up the Sector 3. There was a little bit of a slide, but I believe he will just secure his pole position right now. Drake Dempsey is absolutely flying through this last lap of 40 mile in the qualifying session, and we'll see if this is going to be a 16.4 or maybe 5. It's a 16.4, placing him on pole position for today's Grand Prix. Even though Karafolidis was close with his 2nd place, Iron Bulbas is about to cross the line, gets 3rd ahead of Team Bayer in the final runs of the qualifying. Jonathan Foss this time 3 tenths up on his lap time. So Drake Dempsey's pole position might be safe. It's quite a big margin, but there is still a chance for a couple of drivers. For example, Jonathan and Jack. These are the 2 only men who are still on the track, and still on their way to complete the laps. Jonathan Foss puts himself ahead of Arjan on the 3rd place with 16.718. The only driver left to cross the line is Jack Harrington, and that is the qualifying over, with Jack on the 7th. Jack, who's won his the social race, Japanese Grand Prix, the one which we did around Christmas time with crossplay included. A couple of PlayStation drivers have joined. Drake Dempsey on pole position ahead of Miltos Karafolidis. Then we've got Jonathan Foss, Arjan Bilbas, Team Bayer, Marvin Moore, Jack Harrington, Luke Mills, Ferry Wagner, and Ryan Gropp closing the top 10. And at the end of the grid, Niemczyk, Nilsson, Pawlakowicz, and Cameron Dodds will start last, as he, well, got himself disqualified. That's it for today's qualifying. We'll see if we have formation lap for today. Because I heard it works when it comes to tire temperatures. Even though we have 14 drivers on the grid today only, we just have to remember that it's just a pre-season race. We're just getting going with Season 9. We're getting known to each other and stuff. As we can also see drivers picking up their strategies. Do you remember our favorite game from Season 8? When we actually used the race director to see who's putting which tires for today's race, and we can see all of them on the grid. Dempsey goes mediums at the moment. Carfolidis goes on to hards. The McLaren of Team Bayer is going bold with the soft tire compound. Luke Mills on soft as well, and same applies for Hugo Nilsson. So these two will probably pull out some crazy strategy. Drake Dempsey just switched to the hard tires. I've also seen Harrington and Luke Mills into the hards as well. Same applies for Hugo Nilsson, so they decided not to risk it. Now, Team Bayer is the only one starting on soft, so he probably hopes for getting the lead. No, he's not. He's actually putting the hard tires and Iron Bulbas into hards, his teammate into mediums. We've also got 3 more medium runners, actually 2 more medium runners, with Niemczech and Nielsen being included. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is where we, not officially just yet, but we are starting the Season 9 of European Racing Organization. It's Drake Dempsey versus Miltos Karafolidis, and it's lights out and away we go. Miltos gets a decent start on Drake, but Drake will probably keep the lead of the race anyways. There was that advantage from pole position, and he kept it, Drake Dempsey. He's ahead of Miltos. Then we've got Team Bayer fighting Arian Bulbas. There's 2 spins in the background, but we're looking at the front of the grid. Team Bayer side by side with Arian yet again. Jonathan Foss is ahead of the McLaren and the Ferrari. Team Bayer has to cover the inside line into turn 4, but I believe he's going to keep that 4th place unless Arian tries to go around the outside. He's being forced off a little bit, but I believe Arian Bulbas will now be ahead. They are still wheel to wheel into turn 7 and 8. Arian Bulbas on the inside into turn 9. There's another contact, but they both kept it clean in general. Team Bayer this time leading this fight. But Arian Bulbas with another switchback opportunity. Another launch down the inside. This time he's ahead again. And Portima into lap 1 in this race. So that is a great start for these two. Great fight between these two. And though they're losing quite a lot of time in this battle. Mills and Harrington on 2 last places. Marvin Moore fights Kacper Niemczech for the position number 6. And he's forced Kacper way too wide. Now Kacper has to wait a little bit yet again before pulling out another move. Drake Dempsey with the fast lap of the race is the leader. Then we've got Miltos, then we've got Jonathan, then we've got Arian and Tim. Now Kacper Niemczech on the inside of Marvin Moore should complete this move now and not bother with being forced off track just a couple of corners ago. Luke Mills in the pit lane, probably for a front wing change. We've seen a bit of an incident in the midfield as he's already retired from the session as well, so that's very interesting. The Haas are now fighting together. Cameron Dowds, after starting last, is already 7th, so that's a great performance from the Haas driver. Marvin now is forced off the track himself, all by himself. As Luke Mills has already left us, will not race this in this Grand Prix after an incident with, I believe it was one of the Red Bulls. And that would be Hugo Nilsson, if I'm completely honest. I'll be looking at Cameron Dowds now, chasing down Kacper Niemczech, even though he's on these hard tires. He has a safe gap of 1.3 seconds over Marvin. As we are about to start lap 3, and whilst I was adjusting the sound settings, he spun around and we'll have to recover all over again. The RS is now enabled. I don't see any drain drops despite the clouds being all over the track. As Hostess keeps getting migrated every single time, so I believe we might be red flagging the race pretty soon. If there is still an issue. Probably that the standings have to update themselves, but if we restart the race, well, I believe that will be very quick, as we have Team Bayer Kacper Niemczech fighting for position. We'll know soon about that. That is position number 5. Kasper Niemczyk suffering a little bit of trouble, but I believe this will be cleared up very, very shortly. As there's a position number 7 being taken by Kul Pawlakowicz. He's overtaken Wagner this time. Drivers are now telling us that we should restart the race because of the amount of issues. As you can see, yeah, that is an abysmal amount of desync, and I believe, yeah, restart. I've seen it. You can see how... Well, this is the game of the year when it comes to sim racing. This has been the game of the year. That is actually amazing. We've been discussing if there should be a restart, and I believe so with this kind of overtake that Quill has pulled on Wagner. Now the reason of this crash is probably Quill trying to tell people, yeah, we're starting. As Drake Dempsey, Team Bayer have already crashed out. That will be a bit of a carnage, the third bit of carnage, and donuts going everywhere. As we've got the fastest lap of 153, safety car is out, but that does not count at all. We know this game is a beauty, as we've already finished the race of lap 3. So that was the end of Portuguese Grand Prix already, we can say, but it's not in real life, actually. It's not really the end of the race. That is the end of the race as the game interprets. Let's see who's won according to it. We remember the qualifying order. Well, according to game, Cameron Dowds has lost 21 seconds to Drake Dempsey and Team Bayer. Still managed to win. The rest of the drivers essentially DNF'd apart from Quill. I'm waiting for a new lobby to appear and then we will rejoin. But that was actually the reason why we're restarting. Well, we will restart with the same order as we finished the qualifying. So that will be Drake on pole position. No changes from the regular race apply. Miltos will be on the front row as well, with Jan Hadfos and Bilbas securing 3rd and 4th. Team Bayer, Marvin Moore, Jack Hankton, Ulrich Mills, Ferry Wagner, Ryan Grob, Kasper Niemczyk, Hugo Nilsson, Quill Pawlakowicz, and Cameron Dowds. That is the grid for today's restarted race. Because, well, we cannot race if it goes this bad with desync. How is that in 2023? We still cannot get a working Formula 1 game. Like, we know about all these issues. We are trying to fight them, but thankfully this is just a preseason and does not count to the championship. As we are waiting for the new lobby to start, maybe let's talk about our championship predictions. If you have any on the chat, you can tell it already. As we are waiting for lights to go out yet again for the 2nd time in this race. My own personal predictions, well, I'm not going to share them like instantly, but I can tell you that there's a couple of drivers that I consider as championship contenders mainly. This of course includes Stanley Richa, Cameron Deltz, Drake, uh, Drake or Diogo Moraes. As we're getting everyone into the session, surely. With this game being absolute beauty. Yeah, we're trying. We're trying to make it the best we can. As drivers are already getting assigned to their teams back again. There's already 13 on the grid. I believe we're missing one. And that should be, as I'm trying to see, Niemczyk is there. Doubts is there. Both guys are actually there, so just checking that one. Bayer Crop is not there. The only one not be still on the grid. To not be on the grid still. Ryan Grop is back into the session, so we will still start in 14. So even though this is just a precision race, well, I like how close this grid is. Already, with top 9 within 6/10 of a second on Portimao, which is quite a bit longer than Zandvoort or Brazil, for example. We're waiting for Luke Mills to set up the entire thing, as I'm looking for all the lobby settings at the meantime. Yes, starting grid is realistic, yeah. Hugo Nilsson is actually hosting today's this session when it comes to the lobby hosting and stuff. All of the incidents from previous race go null and void and actually will not be considered into any kind of license board, because you have to remember that any of the qualifying bans and race bans may be withdrawn if there is such a thing that Stewart would have to give for a precision race, but the penalty points are still going to stay. So drivers must keep it clean at all times, even on the preseason races when we're just getting going with the season. We're waiting for the final signal to start the race and get known that everything is well and ready for the Grand Prix. As I'm just making final check on the grid. Drake, Miltos, Yoni, Aryan, Team, Marvin, Jack, Luke Mills, Ferry Wagner, Ryan Grob. Then we've got Niemczyk, Hugo Nilsson, Pawlakovic, Cameron Daltz. Yeah, we should be ready. We should be starting the action pretty soon. And that is, I think, no points to the championship for today's race, but we can still have fun. We can still enjoy racing. We can still know how to expect the drivers to perform during this season. But thankfully, this restart was pretty quick because I predicted it to the race to restart at 16:40, and it's actually starting at 38. So that is what we love to see. As we're about to start but the Portuguese Grand Prix yet again, whatever was in previous race does not count. We could see the beautiful overtake of Ferry Wagner going under Pawlakovic and pulling that move. But that was a red flag situation, so does not really count. Marvin Moore yet again the only one we're waiting for when it comes to the grid. I don't know, he's wondering over the tire choice or something. Not sure, but we should be going within seconds, and we will see our favorite maintenance game, I believe. Which is, well, when we're waiting for the race to start, we can also, of course, see the strategies going on. At this moment, 4 drivers are on soft tires, but I believe they will switch to hards pretty shortly. Derek Dempsey and Miltos, mediums and hards, so again, different view on tire choices. But I believe within 30 seconds, I believe someone forgot the setup. But most of the drivers going cards, which is usual for the league race. I believe there will be more drivers switching to different tire options. Yep, Jonathan Fosk has gone mediums. There will be probably nobody on softs unless Ferry Wagner is the only one to get the red tire compound. And I believe that will be true. As we're about to start the Portuguese Grand Prix yet again. 3, 4, 5 red lights. And it's lights out and away we go for the second time. This time Drake Dempsey's having a little bit better start than Miltos, who's going for a move around the outside, but it was Arjan Bilbas with the start of his life. There's a free wide that, well, it couldn't be helped, but that was, again, an incident in the midfield. This getaway from Arjan was something else, but it's Team Bayer leading the Portuguese Grand Prix and escaping all trouble. Drake Dempsey on the second, and we've got Karafolidis and Ferry Wagner, who's moved from 9th place. So that's a very great performance from him. Arjan Bilbas came back on the 5th place after the start incident where he's gone for the gap that didn't exist, and now he's 4th ahead of Ferry Wagner, suffering probably some issues. This is why there is a preseason race, so we can know literally everything about all the problems before the actual season starts, and we can see how to deal with it. As Team Bayer, Drake Dempsey on the first 2 places, then we've got Miltos. Arjan Bilbas has got the start of his life, then dropped all the way to 4th, and this is where he is currently with his race pace. He also causes a massive train. I don't know what's going on with Arjan Bilbas, but Ferry Wagner now fights Ryan Grob, couple of contacts being made. Now Kacper Niemczyk fighting for the 6th place with the Alfa Romeo, who probably has a damaged front wing. Ferry Wagner, so these soft tires did not work. Now Ferry goes to the pit lane. Team Bayer with the fast stop of the Grand Prix as he's leading the race. Cameron Daltz fights Pawlakovic and he's ahead of the Williams driver. So again, we're doing the same thing that has happened last try. 4 drivers this time in the pits, not just Luke Mills. I believe also Arjan's connection is all fine now. And that was just a moment. That unfortunately happened on lap 1. I believe Cameron Daltz will try making a move on Kacper Niemczyk sooner than later. The Polish drivers on the medium tires, so he might use that as well. Having just over 33 laps of fuel cuts per Niemczyk, as I've just realized. So that may be a major factor in the later stages of the race. Ryan Grob has gone way too wide on the turn 10. The top four has pretty much separated each other by a second. You can see pretty much nobody is inside of the DRS zone. Like, they're on the border of the 1 second DRS gap. But four drivers in the pits on lap 1. So yeah, this first lap summary is that Team Bayer this time used the trouble, but the first start was still cleaner with just one driver having issues. This time it was the entire midfield, all being caused by Arjan Bilbas and his magic start. And pretty much everyone is driving their own race, but Kul Pawlakowicz may be under pressure from Luke Mills and the Williams. Team Bayer leads the race, but we have to note that he's on the medium tires, so he might have just used that advantage. Miltos is getting closer on Drake. They're both Red Bull drivers, are just behind Kul's DRS, but I don't expect a move happening anytime soon, unless from Luke. I thought the gap was a little bit bigger, but now as you can see, Luke Mills is getting closer and closer to Kul Pawlakowicz, and now he's ahead of the Williams driver and on the 8th place. So definitely a better race for the Red Bull, who's got 7th place in the championship last season, compared to the last one that actually cost desync. There is a fight between Niemczyk and Grob. Grob had to go wide. And then not lose too much time. Now he's going wide again. After hitting the yellow curve, the yellow sausage curve, and had to go wide. Thankfully, kept himself running. Still ahead of Niemczyk, but Niemczyk will go for a move probably very soon. Especially considering the fact that Ryan is 2.6 seconds behind Arjan Budbas. So this is way too far to have any chance of getting DRS. The second McLaren driver doing wonders, but he should have been defending Drake, not from Kasper. If there was a chance for a McLaren 1-2, or at least a McLaren victory in this race. However, Cameron doubts. I guess there is a chance for him to watch the overtake just now, but maybe even make one. And a short notice, as Kasper fixes DRS, only McLaren goes on the inside of Ryan Grob. Cameron Dodds will try to go for a move, but has decided to stay at the back still. Maybe he'll go for one down the inside. He's slowly approaching turn 3, and he's done it on Ryan Grob. Ryan Grob losing 2 places in one go. Not just quite yet, but they will be side by side into turn 5, into the hairpin, and this time Cameron goes around the outside of the McLaren. Still it's the fight, still it's wheel to wheel, and I think it's Cameron Dowds this time ahead of Ryan. Very clean overtake from the Haas driver. Now he's another target, Kacper Niemczyk. He has to keep within his DRS. Then may think of a move. Harrington fights Wagner for position number 13 at the back of the grid, so we'll definitely check on that one. 2 medium runners now. Perry trying to go on softs since the lap 1, but this time this did not work. With a contact that made him get his wing damaged, and Jack Harrington with a big slide of his car. Looking for a move down inside. No, I believe his tire pressures are not just right and tire temperatures, and this why is he having so many slides. We'll go to the front of the grid with Arjan Bulbas trying to chase down Karafoulides. Despite having troubles on the first lap of the race, I believe it's all fine now. You can see Iron is using pretty much minimum amount of short shifting, considering how good this driving style is. And F1 22. As there is a yellow flag caused by Jack Harrington on the last place. So yeah, these tire pressures are definitely not working, I believe. Because if you slide so much, that must be something with the tires. Switching to Cameron Dowds though, he's closer to Niemczech by 2.5 tenths of a second, so I believe he might be going for a move on the next lap. Or maybe consider that Niemczech is on hard, on the mediums anyways. Jack Harrington out of the session. First DNF of the pre-season race and the season as well. Cool Balogov just spun around in turn 10. Cameron Dowds will have DRS on Kasper Niemczech. Let's compare the ERS levels. Definitely Cameron has a little bit more, but he's not using it all. Even though he might still go for a move down the inside of Kasper, and he does so. 5th place for Cameron Dowds, even though Niemczech is trying to have a look on the outside, now on the inside. So he might fight back for this 5th place, but the obvious, well, that was a half spin. And a half from Kasper Niemczech. Which makes him lose a place, potentially lose another place to Ryan Grove, but we'll see about that, well, just now. Kasper Niemczech being spun around, losing a couple of places. He will go back on track ahead of Hugo Nilsson, way ahead of Hugo Nilsson, but he might have to watch out for his tire temperatures now. Because once essentially when his tires are over, considering how hot they can get. Vervagen retires in the pits as well, so he just joins Jack Harrington on the flight to Bahrain for the first race of the season. Nilsson nearly spinning out. 7th, the Alpine driver who lost out 2 places. The only drivers out of the points now are Jonathan Foss and Marvin Moore, so we'll watch that one, considering there is at the moment no action at the front. As you can see, Tim Bayer leads the way, then there's Drake 1.5 seconds, Miltos. The gap to Drake is getting bigger and bigger, and the one to Arians is smaller and smaller, so we might be seeing a fight soon there. Then there is Cameron on his own. Krop and Mills fighting with each other. Niemczech with Nilsson, and then there is Pawlakovic. You can see how far. Well, he's going to the pit. I'm wondering what tire choice he will go for. Marvin Moore is now being under pressure from Jonathan. Jonathan goes on the inside, takes the last points paying position in this Grand Prix. Moving on to Arjan Bulbas, he's close to Miltos Karafolidis. So we may expect a fight pretty soon, as I said lap ago. Arjan has plenty of ERS to play with. Comparing to Miltos, well, this is double the amount of ERS. So I believe if Arjan feels a chance, he'll go for it. The gap is now dropping from 6 tenths of a second all the way to like 4. So how about a move on the next straight, even though both of these drivers are going out of the track on the exit of turns 1 and 2. Turn 3 and turn 4 being gone through smoothly by Bilbas and Miltos. But Arjan still does not pull a move on the Mercedes driver. He waits for better opportunity. Jonathan Fawcett fast lap of the Grand Prix as of now, considering that he's got a bit of DRS from Marvin. But that was probably a minor help. Very quick lap from Jonathan. Arjan Bulbas with another chance to make a move on Miltos. This time he's half a second on the DRS. But I still think he's waiting for a better chance, even though, come on, use some bit of that ERS. You can get ahead of Miltos. They are both on hard tires at the start of the Grand Prix. Also, I'm surprised how there was no safety car in this race, as we're on lap 10 already. But Arjan and Miltos both are getting 3-second time penalties, so this goes equal pretty quickly. They cannot even get closer to Drake and Tim. Tim is leading the race, but his gap is shrinking as well. Just 8 tenths, so we might expect a move from Drake for the lead of the race sooner than later. This is also on the better strategy for the end point of the race. For the end of the race, considering the minutes are way faster than hards. Cool of the fastest lap of the Grand Prix this time, 19.3. Taking it from Jonathan Vos. But we'll switch to the top 2 of the Grand Prix as Drake Dempsey is using a bit of his battery. He's got 3 times more battery comparing to Team Bayer, so I expect a move being, if not this one, then next lap of the Grand Prix. Team Bayer has no battery. Drake still decides not to use too much of it, or even none at all. But very, very close to the McLaren driver. Arjan Bulbas is close to Miltos as well. We'll focus on the lead of the Grand Prix, as we're going uphill through turn 4, as Drake Dempsey has DRS yet again, but I don't think he's going to make a move just yet. And he'll probably wait for the next lap, but you can still see how close he is to Team Bayer. Same applies for Arjan and Miltos, as Arjan Bulbas nearly lost the car. And has to fight back yet again. Team Bayer with a 3-second time penalty for multiple warnings. You can see this sporty model track is challenging for the top drivers when it comes to track limits. The rest of the pack is like happy being on the places. Luke Mills being a part of the DRS train of him and Ryan Grob. Kul Pawlakovic is retiring from the session in the pits. The third driver is retiring in the pits. In this race, there's only one driver at the moment that will not score points, and it's still going. As Team Bayer goes kind of wide on the final corner, probably hoping to get a little bit more straight line speed, but this will probably not help at all, as Drake Dempsey is now side by side and ahead of Team Bayer, taking the lead of the Portuguese Grand Prix. But Team Bayer is going to fight back. You can see he's on the inside and takes it back from Drake Dempsey. Fantastic to see. From the McLaren, the debut driver puts a pressure on the man who was twice near champion, Ero F1, first time on PS then on PC. Drake Dempsey has to fight again with Team Bayer, who's done the greatest switchbacks of all that he could do on this particular occasion. And he's again leading the Grand Prix, as Drake has wasted probably all of his battery. Marvin Moore and Jonathan Vos both in the pit lane. Jonathan gives up this one and flies to Bahrain. Marvin Moore will still practice and get data for the Haas. Team Bayer with a little bit of a slide on the exit of turn 10, but Drake Dempsey is not going to give this one up. He was already on the lead of the Grand Prix, but that fight is very enjoyable to watch, even though the gap is now half a second. Team Bayer still used that little bit of advantage of speed on these medium tires and got ahead of Drake back just a corner later, but I think this might be it. We're on the main straight, Drake is DRS, he does not use any ERS though, but it still might be enough for making a move on the inside into turn 1, and this time actually taking the lead of the Portuguese Grand Prix. No, Team Bayer goes around the outside and defends it again. Well, Team Bayer will now have DRS, or maybe not, he's going for a switch back on the Alfa Romeo driver. We'll see about that. He's having DRS this time. And we'll see, Drake is using all of his battery, or just a little bit. Now he's permanent leader of the race at least, if nothing happens until the next DRS zone. Team Bayer tried fighting back, but it was not enough. Drake Dempsey is the new leader of the Grand Prix with a great move that took him 2 laps, a great fight in general. Marvin Moore is being spun around in Sector 3, so we might be getting closer to him being lapped. As Team Bayer with a loss of 1.6 seconds comparing to his personal best lap time, but just comparing it around to Drake's pace. Now, Team has a little bit more battery than the American driver. But is it enough to at least get closer in this lap, or is it time to go to the pits? Team Bayer will give us an answer right now. He goes to the pit lane, saying that he's already lost a place, so it's better change to hards and maybe fight back on the white tires. Team Bayer is in the pit lane. We'll see how his pit time is going to look like. Probably a decent one. We cannot see that unfortunately in the main in the default game heads-up display, but he will join the track on the 9th place. We'll switch to Mills and Grob because you can see it has come pretty close now. Luke Mills close behind McLaren, but I don't think he's going to pull out a move. He's satisfied with staying behind Ryan. And I think, well, these two will not fight at any point in the coming laps. But we can still watch them because the gap is pretty close. You can see Dempsey leads the race. He's got no time penalties. Ahead of Miltos, Carafoli by around 2 seconds. Safe gap for the for potential victory of the in the Grand Prix. Well, the drivers that could fight him are all having penalties apart from Cameron Dowles. He was slowly getting closer and closer to Arian. I remember him being 5 seconds behind on a couple laps ago. As Luke Mills is getting closer yet again to Ryan. Maybe we'll see him make him finally. As Kacper Niemczyk is now in the pits. Luke Mills again with DRS. Not pulling a move still. Staying behind Ryan, even though I think he's losing quite a bit of time behind the back of the McLaren. As you can see, Ryan Grob, for example, has lost 2 tenths to Cameron in this particular section. And so I think Luke Mills has to consider a move on the next lap. We're getting closer to lapping Marvin Murray at this point. Very, very close. As you can see, Marvin goes to the pit lane. And he's not going to get lapped at least. But takes the flight to Bahrain a little bit early as well. Enough of the data for the qualifying session or the end of the race. Safety car has been collected. As Ryan Grob now actively defends from Luke Mills. Luke Mills is getting his gap smaller and smaller to around 2 tenths of a second, 1.5 tenths of a second, but still not enough to pull out a move. Not to even think of it just yet. But I think the time for this one is coming. As Luke Mills, again with the RS, this time using his battery a little bit, but just a little bit. As Arjen Bulbas, well, we've seen you using Reset to track, my friend. He rejoins the Portimao circuit on the 4th place. We've seen him spinning around, and this gives Cameron a chance to fight for the podium properly. And we just remember how around lap 9, Arjen Bulbas was actually fighting Miltos Carfolidis for the 2nd, or back to the 3rd. As we are approaching the final couple of corners, well, the gaps are pretty big in this race. Apart from this little one of Luke Mills and Ryan. Miltos Carfolidis goes to the pit lane. And I believe this will be a change to medium tires, so a bit of a bold move. This early, I would go like 2 or 3 laps later. But I mean, we'll see about that later on, as Miltos will probably rejoin the track on the 6th. Or maybe even fighting with Ryan Grob gets a 3-second time penalty, but he'll be fighting Hugo Nilsson. Miltos Carfolidis is going to be behind the Swedish driver in the Red Bull. But still ahead of Team Bayer, so this overcut from him actually worked. Well, we have to consider that team was on the hards and Miltos is on the mediums, but still a position gained by the Mercedes. The great start from Tim did not work apparently. Maybe if he put it like 1 or 2 laps earlier, that wouldn't be a thing. And now the gap we have to watch is between Drake and Cameron apparently, because Cameron started last, now he's second. We still have to remember that he's going to the pits, but I believe he might be ahead of Miltos. We'll see the gap between him and the Greek driver, 19 seconds. And if he keeps up this pace, well, overtaking Miltos will either be easy or he will be already overtaken. But Cameron goes for 1 more lap at least on these hard tires. As Arjan Bilbas goes to the pit lane. No, he does not. He faked us a little bit, but Ryan Group, yes. And probably a change to the mediums. How about Hugo Nilsson? Is he going to the pit lane? No, he stays out for at least 1 more lap. Around 40 miles. Ryan Group will go out on track on position number 8. Kacper Niemczyk seems like to lose quite a lot of time on these hards. I don't know where this happened, but Kacper Niemczyk was having a very decent pace on the first laps of the Grand Prix. Now something has gone wrong, as he's losing around 7 seconds, because we have to consider Ryan's cold tires. Yeah, that should be 7.5 seconds. Something has gone wrong with Kacper Niemczyk's form on the last couple of laps. As he's currently on the last place, but still, that would be 2 points in the championship if this was a regular race. This is why we're not having the greatest attendance as well. Sperry Wagner on the chat said, yeah, he indeed forgot his setup. Luknus goes to the pit lane, so I'm actually interested because, well, we also missed out on Miltos Karafolidis fighting Hugo Nilsson. This is actually a side-by-side battle. Hugo Nilsson is using all of his ERS. He's trying to help his teammate a little bit, probably, to get closer to the Mercedes driver. But this is not happening just yet. Miltos Karafolidis is ahead of Hugo Nilsson, has completed a move. How about Luke Mills and Grant Grob? This is actually very interesting, because now Luke Mills' undercut has worked on Ryan. But we have to remember there are cold tires when you go out of the pit lane. They're like 70 degrees. The optimal temperature is 90 to 100. Luke Mills was on 70, so this could have gone better for the new Red Bull driver. But yeah, we'll probably still see a happy friendship of McLaren and Red Bull. Happy train. Even though, maybe not, because Ryan Grob is already over a second ahead of Luke Mills, and Jake Dempsey has got 5-second penalty for spinning in the pit lane, so that is very interesting for the race at the end. Maybe Miltos has 3 seconds time of time of penalties. 3-second time penalty, but it's still 2 seconds less comparing to what Drake has. So this will be very interesting for the final laps and the final result. Drake Dempsey rejoins the track on the lead of the Grand Prix. This will not be a Grand Slam though, because Drake was second for first 10 laps, considering how Team Bayer has got its dream start. Now Team is on the 3rd place though, but still he took away a Grand Slam possibility from Drake. Cameron Dowse rejoined on the 4th place on the medium tires. So I believe we're having a fight sooner or later. Hugo Nilsson goes out of the pit lane now on the 9th place. So last essentially at the moment. But Drake is now under real pressure from Miltos. Who will probably try and find a chance to make a move on Drake. As you can see, he's having just a way less battery than Drake, but he's got something called the DRS, and this will be very helpful when it comes to at least keeping up with the Alfa Romeo driver. But we'll see about that in the next laps of the Grand Prix. DRS open on Milto's car, but I believe Drake was using DRS at least a bit to keep the lead of the Grand Prix. Miltos now is fighting Drake for position number 1. As you can see, he's using a bit of DRS, but I don't think the move will happen just yet. We go to Ryan Gropp, who's got a new friend who is traveling around the track of Portimao 33 times. At the beginning, the first 10, that was Luke Mills. Now he's having Arjan involved. Luke Mills, even though he was close a couple of times, did not make any kind of move. Anyway, he did not even try to make a move on Ryan. But we'll see if Ryan will make a move on Arjan. This actually is very interesting to see in this fight for the 5th place. You know, Cameron on the 4th, he might be going for the podium at least, as he's having no time penalties at the moment. Comparing the battery levels of these two drivers, so Arjan Bubas has quite a lot of it. So this is a thing that Ryan Gropp has to consider. You know, Cameron Dowds gets the fastest lap of the race, 18.9. I believe we might go to 17th if someone will go soft at the end of the Grand Prix. Ryan Gropp decides to stay behind Arjan, or at least, or actually is too far from even thinking about the move. Miltos, meanwhile, behind Drake, still within DRS, but still not thinking of a move, not even having a chance to make a move. 7/10 of a gap, it's pretty big. So he should have just used all of his battery available if he wants to at least get closer for the perspective of getting a move on the second DRS zone. And he uses a bit of ERS. He's going to have DRS as well. We'll see if a move is possible around here. DRS is being used on Drake. A bit of ERS, but his gap is not even shrinking, at least a little bit. It's not getting smaller. It's still around 6 to 8 tenths of a second. For Miltos Scarafoli, Drake has got his tires warm now, so he doesn't have to worry about. Actually, Ryan Gropp has spun in the meantime, but Drake doesn't have to worry about tire temperatures and any kind of undercuts. He's leading the Grand Prix. Ryan Gropp spun rounds, rejoined on 7th behind Luke Mills, so he now has to chase the Red Bull instead of Ferrari. Meanwhile, Cameron Dowd's gap to Team Bayer has been reduced to around 2 seconds. So definitely Cameron is third, considering Team Bayer's 3-second time penalty for exceeding track limits. But well, will we see a move on track as well? That will be very interesting. Miltos is out of Drake's DRS, at least in the board of the DRS. We'll see about that within second. Yeah, he's over a second behind, so I believe Drake has now on the highway to win. And this Grand Prix. Cameron Dowds has already got his gap smaller by another half a second. It's 1.5 at the start of lap 24. So we might see a move, at least a DRS on the next lap. Not this one, but the next is very possible. It's 1.2 seconds. It's 1.1 seconds already. Cameron's having a great race pace around Portimao. So he might also go for a podium on track. We also have to consider that team is on hard tires and Cameron's on medium, so he's probably using the advantage of the softer compound, but still, amazing race pace at the moment. for the Haas driver. Now he's going to have the DRS on Team Bayer, definitely. I think the move is happening on not lap 25, but definitely 26. The amount of pace that Cameron has got. Will Dempsey is out of Milton's DRS. He still has to get his gap bigger by 0.8 of a second in order to secure the win. Cameron is having DRS on Team Bayer. Comparing their battery levels, Team Bayer has 13% of the ERS. Cameron has got 30% more. Well, there is light flashing from Team's back of the car. So this is where the battery is essentially gone. And this is a chance for Cameron out. He's very, very close to Team. He might be going for a move not in the DRS straight. We'll see about that. Cameron Dowd's very close to McLaren's or McLaren of Team Bayer into turn 7 and turn 8. We'll see if this move is going to happen over the next couple seconds, as Cameron is having a chance to go with DRS on the main straight, and this will bring him the 3rd place in this Grand Prix. The pre-season race in Portimao. He's the only Haas driver to stay out on track still, as Marvin has retired. That it's already flying to Bahrain, as Cameron Dowd's on the way to make a move on Team Bayer. We know his defending skills of Team, but this time he probably stands no chance with hard tires that he has and medium tires that Cameron has. Cameron clear ahead of Team with no chance to fight back for the McLaren driver. And so I'm wondering if Cameron Dowds is... How much is he going to catch Miltos and Drake by? He's already got them up by a 10th. And this has got reset, but he's 6.1 seconds. He's very talented actually, as you can see. He was having a chance for the championship in Season 7 before retiring with 3 races to go. So yeah, the gap between Team and Cameron, as you can see, is already 7 tenths. I don't think Cameron Team is going to fight for that. Team Bayer and Arjan Bilbas with safe races now. Actually, everyone is going through their own race with these 6 laps to go, so this is where we just wait for a mistake, apparently. Definitely I don't want a safety car, because this race, apart from laps 1 and 2, is so calm, so great. Like, no issues at all. As Team Bayer gets 3 seconds of penalties. Again, Cameron, Luke Mills and Hugo are the only ones not to get a penalty. This might benefit all of them. Well, probably the most interesting bits of this race have been the Team Bayer versus Drake Dempsey fight for the lead of the race around lap 10, where we thought Drake Dempsey is just pulling a move on the McLaren driver, but Team Bayer has fought back and actually kept the lead of the race for 1 more lap. Then he's been overtaken by Drake yet again, and there was, even though he was going for a move around the outside, there was no more chance for him to retake that lead of the Grand Prix. Well, what kind of picture this race gives us before the Season 9? Well, definitely we're going to see some carnage in the midfield if this keeps going on. Well, here's a reminder that the league owners, the league administrator is not 100% responsible for driver standards, but These driver standards, if we go out of the lap 1, have actually been pretty decent. Little amount of contacts. Clean fighting, especially the one I mentioned between Drake and Tim. Cameron and Tim a little bit. Couple of spins, so actually the man who gets the championship will be the one with the least amount of mistakes. Drake Dempsey is already over 2 seconds ahead of Miltos Karafolidis. Cameron Dowds has regained the half a second to Miltos. So Miltos with his great debut performance with the 2nd place. Same applies to Tim Bayer, even though he's got 6 seconds of time penalties. I believe he will finish 4th, and this will be a very great result for the McLaren at the start of the season. Cameron Dowds pulling out 19th on a regular basis as a lap time. 5.7 of a gap already, so I believe he might regain another 3 to 4 tenths in this one if he keeps up with this pace. But yeah, at the end of the day, the regular races will definitely be a lot closer than that. Consider we have to add Tony Ricci, we have to add Carol Vien, Hugo Caballero, Diogo Moraes. A couple more names involved. Kasper Niemczyk with his 2nd time penalty. Julio Figueira will also get involved in the fight at the front. Cameron Dowds did not gain anything on Miltos. Miltos is still losing though. You can see on the race speed, Drake Dempsey pulls out the fastest lap of the Grand Prix by a big margin. And we're having a fight at the back of the grid as Hugo Nilsson and Kacper Niemczyk are fighting for position number 8. Niemczyk might have some penalties, but still. This will be fun to watch, I believe. Hugo Nilsson on the mediums, Kacper on the hards. So we might keep an eye on that one. Will probably go for a move on Kacper sooner than later. He has way less ERS than the Alpine, but the DRS advantage will help a lot, I believe. No move is just yet happening, but we have to remember he's on the medium tires. So there's the advantage, even though the gap between them in laps is 5. So I don't know the actual tire wear, but Kacper Niemczyk has gone out of the track for a moment. Arjan Bilbas out of the Grand Prix. Oh no. Arjan, what have you done? This will be chaos over the final 2 laps in this race. Drake Dempsey and Miltos Karafolidis will go for the soft tires, so we're also having the simulation of what has happened half times last season, which is a late safety car. Ryan Gropp with a drive-through penalty. Tim Bayer retakes the lead of the race by staying out. Will Lewis go for the softs as well? Yes, he is. Drake Dempsey served his 5-second penalty in the pit lane. If he knew Tim Bayer would stay out, he would probably still be in the lead of the Grand Prix because of staying out as well. Miltos on the 2nd, Tim Bayer on the 1st. We're having drama at the end of the Grand Prix. We're having a bit of drama with Arjan Bilbas involving us in it. I swear this turns into dirty driving and then I don't know what I'm going to do, but he's done it, Arjan Bilbas. We'll also see what are the driver's tactics under the safety car conditions. I don't think Kacper Niemczyk, Hugo Nilsson, Ryan Gropp or Luke Mills will catch up with the queue. Well, it will not be just Tim Bayer in the safety car queue, but also Miltos, Drake and Cameron. I don't think the rest is going to make it. We'll see about Luke Mills, we'll see about that. Because the safety car is definitely going in this lap. 100%, it must. It is. As you can see, there is green flag already, so that was very quick. You could have just pulled off virtual safety car, the steward. But it seems like you did not. And you decided to give us some drama. Top 4 is very, very close to each other. I believe Luke Mills is going to join it too. Drake Dempsey with no time penalty may just wait, but also has to watch out for Cameron Dowds. Team Bayer starting this race now for the final 2 laps of the Grand Prix. He's still going slow. He still does not accelerate. Now he's doing so. Now we're restarting the Portuguese Grand Prix for the final 2 laps of the Grand Prix, for the final lap of the race. As we're having green flags around the track, Team Bayer keeps the lead of the Grand Prix, but with soft tire advantage, I believe Miltos, Drake and Cameron will all go for a move sooner than later, but we'll see about that because they haven't got time to actually warm up their tires because they had to join the queue very quickly. There's 5 cars being involved to fight for the victory of the race. I believe Miltos will go for a move down the inside now. He's looking for it, he's having a half look. But Team Bayer keeps the lead of the race. Luke Mills tries to look for the space to attack. Cameron doubts himself. Team Bayer on the lead. Makes this train go slower a bit with his hard tires. With the stuff I believe he could have gone away at least. Now Miltos is going for a move around the outside. No, he's still very, very close to the McLaren. We'll see if he's going to make one into turn 10. No. Cameron Dowds fights Drake Dempsey for position number 3. There's a little bit of contact. There's a 4 wide. As Team Bayer loses 3 places in one go. Now he's going to lose a position to Luke Mills. This is a havoc of a race. And this final laps, Drake Dempsey and Cameron Dowds side by side. Cameron Dowds on the outside, Drake on the inside. Now Cameron is still will to will with Drake Dempsey. Nobody's getting that lead of the race. Drake Dempsey now is on the first place. Cameron Dowds will use all of his ERs possible. Same applies for Drake. This will be a will to will into turn 1 possibly. As you can see, Cameron Dowds was looking for a move, but he's not going to make one just yet. Ryan Gropp with the fastest lap, but we don't really care about that one. Drake Dempsey with the lead of the Grand Prix still. Cameron looking for a space everywhere possible. Drake's safe victory is now unsafe. None of them has ERS. Now Cameron Dowds was looking for a move down the inside. The 2 drivers that could have been champions of Yaro's season 6 and 7 respectively are now fighting for the victory for the Portuguese Grand Prix in pre-season. And I believe it's going to stay like Dempsey Dowds Mills, considering Miltos as a penalty on his account. But Team Bayer lost 4 places in like 3 corners, and that was a 4 wide at the end of lap 32. Actually in this corner. But Drake Dempsey, I believe, is going to win this one. He's half a second ahead of Cameron Dowds. Used this restart perfectly, executed it, and is going to win. He's got 1 more corner to go, so if nothing happens, he's going to get the first place in the preseason. Portuguese Grand Prix is being won by Drake Dempsey on the straight line. He's winning the Grand Prix. Well, theirs has been enabled, but who really cares? The race is finished anyway. And thank you, Luke Mills and Miltos, for the carnage. Drake Dempsey wins in Portugal, getting the group going for the preseason. Great race pace overall, great restart execution. Team Bayer Ryan Gropp will actually finish 7th because of that drive-through penalty. Hugo Nilsson with a 6th place, and Kacper Niemczyk on the 8th. Well, Team Bayer had a plan for this race, but it did not work at the end, even though we can still say it was a great performance from him. Cameron Dowds deserved driver of the day because of going from 14th all the way to 2nd and actually being half a second from the race win. Drake Dempsey wins in the preseason. And is he going to win in the regular season? We'll know about that probably in a short notice. A victory from the Alfa Romeo. First one of the season, even though this will not really count to the history books. But a win is a win. And sorry, the champagne bottles were closed, but you know. What a race. Well, we're thinking of it as a very calm one, the one that goes swiftly, and 33 laps were done, but Aaron Bevis giving us some entertainment with the slave safety car. Drake Dempsey wins. Then there's Cameron. Then there's Luke Mills. The podium that he hasn't got in Season 8, now he's getting in Season 9 per season. So that's fantastic. Miltos Karafolidis on the 4th. Then we've got team by Hugo Nilsson, Ryan Grob, and Kacper Niemczyk. The rest of the drivers failed to finish. And they're already going to Bahrain earlier than the rest of the field. We'll be having a short conference. But this will be a very short one. For the Grand Prix. Move to F1 conference. Welcome the winner of today's Grand Prix.
Hey, how's it going?
How it was going? Well, that was a very swift race until lap 30, and then you decided to give us a 4 wide for turn 10.
Yeah, that was stressful. Yeah, well, I would have preferred a safety car not come out. If we crossed the line, it would have been fine. But at least it let me remove my 5-second penalty and give me a clean slate because I just forgot where to brake for the pits. But yeah, it didn't matter luckily too much. But it was stressful getting past the car, and I had a really good car placement for the Miltos and Tim little tap. And I didn't know Cameron made it by and kind of had a bit of a tap. So it was a good battle, but man, was it stressful because it was whoever had the more battery, and luckily we had about the same. And yeah, it was close. I mean, yeah, it's pretty stressful. I won't live to 70 at this rate with this stress on me.
Yep. And we have to consider that was just a pre-season. We were just racing to get the grip going.
Yeah, I've definitely practiced a bit more for the real season, or maybe not because it's at 11 o'clock in the morning for me. But yeah, I feel like it's going to be a pretty good season.
Yep.
Not even everybody that was going to be competitive at the front was racing like Tony Richet and everybody else.
Yep. That was a bit of a GG. Now we're going to move to the 3rd place of Luke Mills, who's actually gone with a luckiest pit stop we've seen recently on the late safety car.
Yep.
I thought you were going to miss out on the top 4 fight, but you've joined it, and there you go. The thing that you haven't got in Season 8 is now in pre-season.
Yeah, that's out the way and done. I don't need to worry about a podium all season because it's not going to happen. But I probably should have maybe tried to be a bit more aggressive when there were 4 wide at the end there. Maybe I could have shocked people by putting pressure on because I know it was a horrible. Like I was stressed being in 5th place just watching it. I was like, something's going to happen here, but you know, everyone's not stupid, so.
Yeah. Sometimes I'm not gonna.
Sometimes you have moments.
PSG left you.
But it was a bit. It was good. But yeah, I had an opportunity around the outside. I got ahead. However, then I just didn't get on the throttle quick enough. Which was that was pretty much it at that point. But P3 more than I could have actually got at the race. But you know, things happen, and well, the safety car definitely helped.
Yep. Well, and this safety car gave us a lot of entertainment because we also got a driver who finished 2nd, but by the game he was given the title of driver of the day. Pretty much deserved considering he started from the 14th. Cameron Doubts, well, that was a bit of a fight with Drake at the end of the race, and actually this 4 wide, right?
Yeah, it was a good race. Luckily we restarted because in the first one I spun, and I think I would have just maybe I would have got like 4th or 3rd or something. But yeah, I managed to get up to the top 7 pretty quickly, but then I got stuck behind. I'm not sure who it was, but I got stuck behind 2 people for a bit. But then I managed to get past, and then yeah, it was good pace, and then I was on for probably like P3 I think, and then that safety car came out, and yeah, it was a good battle with Drake Clare at the end. I almost crashed because we were 4 wide, and then there was still 2 cars beside me, and then I like made a little bit of contact with Drake because I had nowhere to go.
Yeah, I didn't know it was 4 wide. I
Yeah,
just barely saw you, and I thought I had clearance, and then boom, I get like a sudden tap, and I barely save it, and it wasn't really 4 wide.
yeah, it was 3 wide. I think it was 3
Yeah,
or
it
four
Still,
was
wide.
four.
not in that corner.
It
That
was
does not work in that
100%
corner.
4.
Yeah, I can definitely show that on stream, maybe not, but I definitely going to send a picture of it on the PC F1 chat. Because that actually was a 4 wide, I'm telling you.
Yeah. But yeah, it was a good battle at the end.
Yeah, it was. I mean, I enjoyed it. It was stressful as heck because I mean, I was cool running all that race in front. The penalty really put me on my heels, but luckily I had a bit of a gap. But that battle at the end, I just like kept looking my rear, like seeing you there, and I'm like, oh god,
Yeah.
Yep.
oh my goodness.
Yeah, that was instant start to the season 9 of VRO, and make sure you'll be joining the regular season as well. Next week we're starting to fight for the championship. There's 21 talented, even 22 now, talented drivers involved in the TIA, with 2 reserves included, joining Karafolidis and Lutinsky from PlayStation. So this will definitely be one to watch. As on 4 p.m. UK time, we'll start Ero's Season 9 in Bahrain, the great track for season openers, and we hope to see loads more action in this one. Maybe not actually loads, but even more action in this one. Thank you for watching, remember to like and subscribe to the channel, and we'll see you next week. Goodbye.